Tell us how you got into wedding photography.
I did the traditional method that so few people do these days. I didn't realize this till recently, but the whole reason I am even a photographer is because I failed at something I really, really wanted.
One of 5 wedding photographers who've become a Canon Explorer of Light. What does it mean?
It means
How do you scale being an individual photographer?
none of us have a traditional exit plan. If I sold Vanessa Joy everywhere and then Vanessa Joy wasn't there, what is that? I want to AI myself.
Just tell me life on the road as a wedding photographer. If 148 days away, a couple of times you've had burnout, maybe you've got some tips and tricks of how you get out of it and maybe how you go about preventing it.
Getting out of it, to me, it's always been
Welcome to the Mood Podcast, uncovering the art of conversation, one frame at a time. I'm your host, Matt Jacob, and thank you for joining me again in today's conversation. In this episode, I'm thrilled to speak with Vanessa Joy, distinguished wedding photographer, educator, and creative entrepreneur. Known for her timeless approach and deep connection with her clients, Vanessa has really built a successful career, capturing life's most important moments with authenticity and artistry. Her journey from early influences to becoming an educator in her field highlights a profound commitment to her craft and an inspiring perspective on photography as both an art and a business. Together, we've dove into some fascinating topics, starting with her journey into photography and the influences that shaped her unique style. We discussed her philosophy on crafting timeless images and the ethical considerations behind capturing perfect moments while staying true to those real emotions. Vanessa also shared insights into balancing creativity with business demands, her approach to teaching, and the importance of staying grounded amidst the pressures of social media. We rounded off with her thoughts on the future of wedding photography and some lesser-known tips she's picked up along the way, making this a really insightful conversation for anyone passionate about photography and the stories behind the lens. Thank you for tuning in, and now I bring you Vanessa Joy. Vanessa Joy, welcome so much to the Mood Podcast.
Thanks for having me. This is like cross the other side of the world. This is happening.
This is actually, I don't know the longitudes, but this is pretty much opposite sides of the world, right?
Yes. This is that thing when you were as a kid, like if you dug a hole directly below, I reach you.
Yeah. And you're joining us from Texas, right?
I'm in Austin. I like to say I'm in Austin and not Texas. It's very, very different.
And I'm going to put a disclaimer on this episode because we are recording on US election day, but we're not going to talk about it. So
No, we're not.
this will go out in a few weeks, but at the time of recording, we have maybe one part of our brain on the results that are coming in as we speak. Okay, let's kick things off. And I wanted to start with you, and we'll talk about your background in a minute, and something that really kind of got my attention as I was doing a little bit more research about you. I mean, I've known of you before. You're a big name out there. But on your website, I think it was on your website, there was this kind of motto or slogan, and it was to put an end to pictures that look like everyone else's. And I think that's something we all strive for in terms of some originality or uniqueness. Can you tell us a little bit more behind that statement and maybe dive into a little bit about how you go about, achieving that?
Can we just be totally honest here? I hire copywriters to write what's on my website. So let's just, for real, admit that did not just come from my brain. I only have so many creative parts to me. Photography, I think, is the main one. So when I try to do graphic design or write, although I have written 4 books, I hire the people that are really good at that. And, I know exactly where that line is because it's not like I'm telling them, go write my website and, I'll see you next Tuesday. It's just a collaboration of what I'm looking for. But the reason why I had that particular sentence in there is because I'm primarily a wedding photographer, or at least my background is in weddings, and that's where I've cut my teeth. And for a while, a lot of the instructors, a lot of the photographers and what's been popular are very similar. And I always say, consumers, they don't know the difference between good and great photography. You do as a photographer, but for most consumers, they think we all look the same. So I wanted to teach wedding photography in a way where you could stand out. So primarily, wedding photographers are natural light photographers, and I am teaching flash photography in conjunction with natural light and in a way where you can decide, hey, I want this to look real dark and moody and like it was lit with flash, or it's really nasty outside and raining and crappy, and I still want that natural light glow. And bringing flash photography into that world just gives so much control. And so that's why that sentence is in there, so that it tells people that, hey, we're teaching you things that aren't, what you see every day and aren't what's being taught somewhere else.
Yeah, I love that. And I resonate with that because if anyone sometimes calls my work unique, it's because of the use of flash.
And your stuff doesn't look like flash. I looked at your stuff. I can tell when you're using flash, but most people would not see that. And it's beautiful, by the way, your work.
That's very kind. And straight back at you. With flash specifically, there's a lot of, not haters, but there's a lot of purists out there that push back against the use of flash, especially outside when natural light is available. I'm not talking about in pitch black, but on a creative sense, I love it, right? You and I, we get it, we love it. What do you say to those people that do push back at that?
So you and I shoot totally different things. I am very consumer based, and the last stuff I saw of yours was in Indonesia, and I would not have expected you to say that you get that same hate from purists for people using flash. You get that too?
Hey, it's me. Sorry to break your podcast, but I wanted to just say a few words from the sponsor of this episode. And stick with me because it is worth a listen. My friends at Luminar Neo have an awesome editing software that I think every photographer should certainly have at their fingertips. I found this software not so long ago, actually, and if you're like me and always on the lookout for the perfect and most efficient photo editor that is easy to master and delivers great results, then you have to check them out. Luminar Neo is an innovative photo editing software designed for a fast and convenient workflow. Recognized with prestigious awards like TIPA and Red Dot Design, Luminar Neo offers an intuitive, user-friendly interface that makes it easy for anyone to enhance photos just like a pro. It's powered by AI. Yeah, stay with me and lean into it. So you can easily adjust light, colors, retouch portraits, or enhance landscapes, and just so much more with just a few clicks. From layers and masking to advanced local adjustments, it really is packed with powerful tools to bring your vision to life. And in my opinion, the user interface is so much quicker, user-friendly, and efficient than other softwares. And it also has a powerful built-in library of presets that can help you easily add a unique style to any of your photos. It's available for Windows, Mac OS, or as a plugin for Photoshop and Lightroom. And Luminar Neo is your go-to for quick, professional, quality results across all of your images. So go to the episode description, click on the link, and use the code for a whopping 25% discount and pick up your copy of Luminar Neo today. Trust me, it's definitely going to be worth it. All right, see you later. Yeah, I do. Less so now because I've become a little bit more subtle with it. I'd say 50% of my work there is flash in there, but I use it because it adds a level of creativity, and I can basically, if you've got a flash in your hand and a software, you could do whatever you want. You don't need to worry too much about natural light or the location. So a lot of the reason why I use it is because the locations I go to, I can't really change. Like the posing is set up, but the location, the environment is whatever I have given to me. And so just having that
like,
light in the back. Yeah.
Let's go to that field over there.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I do get a little bit, but I mean, I don't really listen to them, but I'm interested from a bigger photographer like yourself, who's so enthusiastic with flash and uses it so well. Do you find that that's a very, it's just audience capture. You don't really get that because your audience knows you and loves that? Or do you still get kind of pushback from the purists?
Oh, I get pushback on everything. Even just being a wedding, like being a wedding photographer, period. According to photography purists, it's not even an art form. So, I mean, I do a lot more now than just weddings, but just being a wedding photographer is like the lowest, lowest part of the totem pole. You are just the scum. You're doing it for the money. So then I throw some flash in there. And the thing about the people who don't love flash photography for weddings is you get half, and I don't want to put words in their mouth, but you get half of them, they're like saying they hate Flash, and it's because they don't know how to use Flash. And I can say that because I was one of them. And I'd be like, I don't like Flash. I don't like how it looks. And that's just because I didn't know how to use it properly to obtain how I wanted my image to look. But the other half, I don't know. They're just gonna be mad no matter what I shoot. So just let them be mad. I like the fact that I can tell my clients, like, you don't have to worry about rain on the wedding day. I bring the sun.
Mm, very good. Well, let's dive into weddings. Tell us about how you got into wedding photography, your background with photography in general.
You know, I didn't realize this till recently, but the whole reason I am even a photographer is because I failed at something I really, really wanted once. And so I was homeschooled for 9 years. And going into my ninth year, I was just dying to go to school. And I'm an introvert, which is why I probably lasted so long. But by that point, it's like you're going into high school. Like I need to be out there in life. So I'm begging to go to school, and my parents like, fine, you can go to this vocational school. Like, let's not send her totally to public school. Let's go with vocational. And it's like a math tech type vocation. It wasn't like, I don't know, something like a specific trade. So I take the entrance test, and it's like, dear God, this is my only chance to get out of my house. Like, please, please, please let me pass this test. Just for the record, I am really good at math, but I failed. And I had to be homeschooled for a whole another year till finally I was allowed to go to public school. And that public school is where I ended up taking black and white darkroom photography. My high school photography teacher, I mean, I fell in love with it, obviously, but my high school photography teacher did weddings on the weekends. I, even after that and like my love for it, I still thought I had to have a real job, right? Because this was, pre Instagram, and most people having websites, and the yellow pages were the best places to,
Yellow
be found
pages.
as a business.
Oh,
The yellow pages. Yeah. Yeah. It's disgusting. I know. But my only examples were like photography wasn't a real job. My mom did photography, but she was really a stay-at-home mom. And then my high school photography teacher did photography, but he was really a high school photography teacher. So off I go on to my next journey in college. And I think, you know what? I'm going to be a dental hygienist. And I go to dental hygiene. I am the only high school student accepted to this dental hygiene program. I go to orientation, and oh my God, I never went back. Just like, okay, thank you. Goodbye. No,
straight.
no,
So you
please.
did orientation one day, and then you're like, no.
Yep. Yeah. Just no, no. So I ended up going to school for photography, but again, not a real job. So I became a Spanish teacher because that was a real job. So let me become a Spanish teacher. For the record, I'm not native. I just enjoy languages. And I became a Spanish teacher. But while I was in school, went back to my high school to cut mats, of all things, because the mat cutter at my college was so bad. Like, wouldn't cut straight. So I went back to my high school, like bringing a Dunkachino to my old high school teacher, like, can I use your mat cutter for my college project? Because the one that we had stinks. So he's like, yeah, sure. And then he ended up seeing my work and hired me. And I worked for him for 5 years. But it was all because I failed that entrance exam to the school I really wanted to go to.
What other opportunities in your photography career that you failed at do you think has opened doors to other opportunities?
You know what, Matt? I've never failed since. So we're just going to keep.
Other than every day.
Other than every day, definitely failing my family on a routine basis. No, this year I did. I thought last year was a lot. I did 120 days away. And this year is going to be 148. And I'm likely adding to that also. So it is, yeah, I fail. on a daily basis for sure. But as far as big epiphany moments, I don't know. That was my big one for like the last decade. I
Mm.
just figured that one out.
But yeah, I mean, it takes a while to look back, doesn't it, and realize where those learning experiences have come from. What about weddings then? How did you get specifically into weddings?
That was what my high school photography teacher did on the
Oh,
weekends. He
okay. So he
photographed
was,
weddings. hmm So I assisted and then I second shot for him. I did the traditional method that so few people do these days. I was, an assistant first and I worked for someone else for 5 years before starting my own thing. And it was the best idea ever. I mean, I made every mistake I could have first on his business and his reputation, not mine.
is that some advice you could give to people who want to do the same thing? Just go and work for someone else and make loads of mistakes till you figure it out.
No, that's right. Just go burn some bridges over there where they won't remember you. What about you? I feel like you're the kind of person that would have those big epiphany moments. Like you seem like ultra creative and enlightened and like you must have epiphany moments every time you
Oh,
roll
I
out of
wish
bed.
I was enlightened. I'm working on that. I had a midlife crisis, if you could say, a mini one, and I don't want to play the violin at all because we all have our own issues. But yeah, COVID was really my other career as a pilot took me, and I empathize with your time away from your family. I was 2021. I was away for over 9 months of the year, and I'm depressed, unhealthy, eating crap.
It's so
Um,
lonely. So
Extremely
lonely.
lonely. No one else understands the situation, and something had to change. And I always loved photography, and I loved conversations, and podcast was something I kind of wanted to do. And we moved country, we moved life, and we just kind of started again, which is a very long story short. But that was one epiphany moment when I'm sat on my bed crying every day and not knowing why, really, because I just didn't have that
On the
emotional
outside, it looked
intelligence.
great, probably, right?
Yeah, of course. Like, you're a pilot, you travel the world, get paid well. What are you complaining about? You know. Um, so yeah, that was one big epiphany moment of my adult life that I think about most days. And yeah, since then, just been working on myself more than anything else, right? And I want to touch upon that with you later because I know you're into as health as much as anyone. But yeah, I think that was. I wouldn't say I have many epiphany moments, but that was definitely a midlife. What am I doing? What am I doing with everything? What's my purpose? And all those kind of cliche but existential questions. Definitely had to dig deep and try and answer. Right.
And you landed in Bali.
Yeah, we landed in Bali. It was we were in Hong Kong at the time with my job, and we'd been there 9 years and loved it until COVID hit, and the whole place completely changed. Our lives changed, and it just wasn't tenable for us to stay there anymore. So Indonesia was another. It was the kind of the next place I had on my radar because I've traveled here quite a lot. Photography here is just abundant. Certainly the photography opportunities with the cultures, subcultures, and the landscapes and the diversity. And Bali, we got married here. Yeah, so it was easy for me to say, like, I want to move to Bali. For my wife, not so easy. But we took the jump. And yeah, haven't really looked back. We absolutely love it here. We're very, very fortunate to have made a life
I've
here.
never been. And, I'm a typical American woman who watched Eat, Pray, Love, of course. So you see
I
that.
started the whole
But
tourism search.
I know, I'm sure it did. And hope it's benefiting people there a little bit at least, or more than hurting, I guess, is what you hope for. Well, I am going to be part of that, though. I started doing these photo trips. Last year we went to Italy. This year we did Croatia, and we're doing Bali next year, actually. And I already mapped it. We will be 1 hour and 4 minutes from your coffee shop. So
Amazing.
I
I'd
have to
love
figure
to
out how to
host
get
you.
the
Yeah.
schedule. Yeah. And it means such as
Come
me. We have 20 people signed up so far. Hopefully we'll get a few more.
fantastic. Good for you. Yeah, like you use the studio anytime. If you're going to do some theory stuff or just some shoots inside, obviously the studio's here with all the lights you need and all the setup. So we'd love to host you. Yeah, it'd be fantastic. And then maybe we can do part 2 conversation in person.
Yes. Yes. Well, when we get down to that itinerary, I will definitely let you know. I have 4 spots left. I'm hoping to fill those spots.
All right, we'll do a shout out on this video. Yeah. Where can people go to find?
Oh, you can, if you go to my Instagram, so Instagram is where I tend to hang out, and you just send me a message there, a DM that says photo trip, it'll automatically send you the info on the latest photo trip.
God, you've got it all sorted. Absolutely incredible. Now, AI automatic comments and messages. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, that's I guess a bot more than AI. I just, I want to AI myself. I was talking to someone recently, and maybe you could weigh in on this. I think I was talking to someone recently. So we had this big creator boom, right? Podcasters, creators, photographers, but then also like the influencer boom, right? And there's just entrepreneur, right? There's so many people who are just single person running a business, single person talent, their faces everywhere. But none of us have a traditional exit plan, right? Like we can't if you sold your podcast and it's not you, like what is that? If I sold Vanessa Joy everywhere, like and then Vanessa Joy wasn't there, what is that? So like where's that exit plan? Is it that like we 3D map ourselves into AI and you can continue this offshoot of us sort of with AI and it ends up being like a legacy that lives forever, even after you die?
I think you've hit on something there that I ask a lot of people in terms of how do you scale being an individual photographer? Like first of all, scale, let alone an exit plan of that scalability if you manage to scale it. Because it's such an individual pursuit. If people are going to give you money for whatever asset or service you provide, then the IP of all of that is you. So how are you going to scale that without doing everything yourself? It's such a challenge, right? I don't
Or
have to.
the creatives person who's coming to mind is Kelsey J. She has a great photography and she models. So she's kind of like a high color hybrid, like influencer photographer, but actually a photographer, not an iPhoneographer. Not they saying that iPhoneographers are not photographers either, just for the record. But she's sort of that hybrid. So like if she decides to, I don't know, retire one day, she has this audience of 300, 400,000 people. That audience is still has value. Like where does it go? Could it go somewhere? AI? I don't know.
Write some answers in the comments. That's all I can say. Give us some answers. Someone, give me an agent
Someone,
with that
yeah,
answer.
whoever solves this is going to be a billionaire and probably live a very unethical life for sure.
How have you navigated the rise of these influencers that may be encroaching on the photography profession? And I know there is no delineation like that, but if we're going to put labels on and some merge into the other, and now with iPhones, everyone's a photographer to some respect. And does that ever come into your thought process? Do you even care, or do you kind of grow
Oh,
with
yeah.
it?
I try to grow with it. I mean, I think that should be everyone's goal is to find out how you're going to grow with it. You're going to be the person who's driving the horse and buggy when everyone else is driving automobiles. So you have to find somebody to grow with it. But, I feel like it's just created a new genre of photography. I don't know how much it's encroached. It has a little bit, obviously, like, moms with cell phones are hiring a professional photographer less when they can throw a timer on. Yes. AI headshots where I can upload a bunch of selfies and get a professional headshot. Yeah, there's probably a sect of people that's taking business from AI retouching. But there's this new genre of photography who someone like Kelsey or TJ is another one that comes to mind, where they're photographers, but they're photographer influencers. There's no name for this yet. They're photographer influencers, and their job is to photograph themselves, but in a professional manner. And their customers are not my customers. Like they're never going to get hired or want to get hired. Not even that they couldn't get hired. They're never going to want to get hired to photograph somebody's newborn photos or, the holiday Christmas card. They just don't have the same customers. Their customers would be like Canon and Profoto and Squarespace and, brands and, B2C versus, no, I'm sorry, B2B instead of B2C. So there's a part of it, that definitely comes into play. I think weddings are the safest thing though, because you're not going to AI that like product photography.
And you're not going to influence it. There's no influencer that's going to go and do a wedding photography job, right? So
actually, wedding content creators are a thing, and it is somebody who comes around with their phone.
Okay.
And
Slightly
just to
different,
do
but
that,
yeah. Well,
a little different.
that is growing with it, I guess. It's just accepting that's just part and parcel of these days. And certainly, I mean, when we talk about influencers, I see through my friends and other kind of small photography network, a lot of photographers who started their career working for brands, hotels, or equipment brands or whatever they might be, and doing photography and video for them. Now influencers are coming in and kind of doing free collabs so the influencer gets their content for their basically socials, likes and validation, and then the hotel or whatever get free stuff. So I do see that as being taken over, or certainly encroaching in that space. But yeah, I think you're right with the wedding. So I think you're safe. I think you're
Pretty
good.
safe.
I think your quality speaks for itself anyway. So tell me about the wedding, just life on the road as a wedding photographer. If 148 days away doing weddings, or maybe there's some other
So not just
jobs in there.
weddings.
Not just
No, not
weddings.
just
Okay.
weddings. It is, I do work for, one of those hotel companies. I do a bunch of shoots for Hilton Grand Vacations, which is Hilton's timeshare division. And I do a lot of speaking, a lot of traveling for Canon photo trips. I'm going to Africa at the end of this month. Bucket list for sure. But I'm going just to take photos and be taught how to take safari photos.
Okay, cool. All right. So when it comes to weddings specifically, we'll just hover over that for a second. Can you give us an insight as to what your process during the wedding looks like? And we talked about you making some art form out of wedding photography, which you definitely do. Your wedding photography is incredible, and it's extremely fine arty, and hopefully you're extremely proud of it. So whatever these other people say, they're wrong. But I think that a lot of obviously skill, time, effort, practice goes into that. So tell us about the process of being a wedding photographer for a wedding and the life around that.
So, I guess what it looks like day of, it starts the night. I mean, it starts the week of. You're getting your equipment prepared. You're making sure everything is packed. And I'm asking them if they have golds or silvers. So I know what little lay flat or flat lay kit to bring. So all the little decorations that I bring to photograph the shoes and the invitation and things. And then the night before is pretty big for weddings. So I do things like make sure I email the couple, let them know, just a little reassurance like, hey, can't wait to see you tomorrow. Try to get some sleep tonight. Do you want me to bring you Starbucks tomorrow? And then I realize saying Starbucks to you is probably very offensive. Did I just totally?
We're going to bleep that out. Yeah.
I bring them my homemade brewed
AeroPress.
matcha. AeroPress. Yerba mate.
Wow, am I that pretentious? Ugh.
No, but I'd like to be. No, but the night before, so I do that. And then for me, this kind of sounds silly, but I refuse to eat shellfish and sushi or anything that could possibly violently upset me the next day.
Good tip.
And then, yeah, it goes without saying, not going out for an all night bender, try to get to bed early, all those things.
What's the pressure like on the day? I mean, you've been doing it for long enough where I'm sure you feel less and less nervous, but there's still pressure, right? You still got to deliver.
Always pressure. And I mean, the nerves are there. I think they have to be there because the second they're not, you've stopped caring to some degree, right? So the nerves are there, but I do have the confidence that I feel whatever day I go into, I know I'm going to be able to give them quality photos, and I know that they've picked the right person for the job. And I think understanding that helped me get over it. If you are super scared and nervous, then you're doubting or you're contradicting their thought process in hiring you, right? You're telling them, no, you're wrong. I'm not the right person. So you kind of have to convince yourself of that. And I think that certainly helped my pre-wedding nightmares anyway. Or you have nightmares and you forgot your memory card, or you're late, you get a flat tire.
be prepared, but also kind of try and break down limiting beliefs. It's easier said than done, of course.
It is, but try to remember that. And then the other thing is when it comes to weddings, they're very unique because these two people are at an age where I don't know, they've maybe had high school photos, right? And those high school photos are kind of professional, but they've probably never had really good photos of the two of them together. So the bar is set pretty low.
Speaking of bar being set, what would you say, and this is a bit more of a high level, generic question, but what would you say the difference between good and great photography is? We touched on it a little bit earlier, but how would you go about defining that?
The difference between good and great photographers, it has to do with how they treat people and the client experience, whether it's the day of and making everyone around them feel at peace and not stressed, or making that bride feel beautiful, to how they answer things when things go wrong. Like, because again, I'm human, I screw up, I fail every day. But when I fail, am I going to like double down on what my contract says? You know what? Probably not, because I care more about the person and the experience. And I think that's what makes a good or great photographer. And maybe you just call it business sense and call it a day. But I think when you learn to relate to people as other human beings that you genuinely want to serve and you want to create a good experience for them, that's going to set you apart. Because people know the difference between a good and great experience, not so much a
Yeah.
good and great photo.
And almost the photography comes last, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly comes last to every single person at the wedding. Because
Yeah.
every guest at the wedding, they've all decided whether you're a good or great photographer, and they've never seen a single photo.
Yeah. Interesting. What
Like
about
your
how
bedside
you,
manner.
yeah. How, how do you go about capturing another thing that maybe your copywriters wrote, but I'm sure you're aware of it, the word timeless, and especially with respect to wedding photography. I'm interested in this concept. So tell me what timeless means to you. Certainly, let's stick with the context of wedding photography.
I think timeless is has a lot to do with the editing and the way that you take photos. There's a lot of wedding trends that come and go, and I think it's okay to play into them. It's fun. But if you stick to an editing style where when you look at a photo, the thing that tells you how old it is will be what the people are wearing and not how the photo was edited, then I think that lends itself to being timeless and making sure that you're photographing in a way that isn't overly edgy or even isn't overly traditional too. It's somewhere in the middle, because if it's too traditional, then that's telling me, oh, it's probably a little bit antiquated before cameras could capture a lot of movement, right? But then if it's too edgy, then it's like, oh, this was clearly shot when those blurry photos came back for a second round of amazing.
Yeah, I'm guilty of experimenting with those slow shutters, but um,
That's okay though.
yeah. Well, trend
I do
trend
too. It's fun.
there is yeah. I mean, as a photographer, you want to try and have a clear identity of who you are, as much as the photographs that you put out in the world. That doesn't mean to say you can't like do loads of different photography and try this and try that. And if there's a trend, there's a real negative connotation with the word trend. I'm going to ask you a
There
question about
is.
trends in a minute, but trends are okay if you enjoy it, you have fun, and as long as you still know what you're about and what the purpose and the intent is behind your photography, I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. But if you're trying to stick out, especially maybe in a saturated, I don't know if the wedding photography sector is that saturated. I know it's extremely
Oh, it
difficult.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, do trends come into, I mean, timeless and trends, timeless would almost be the opposite of participating in a trend, or you try and consciously avert that?
probably. Yeah, trends get like you said, a bad connotation, but you know, we're photographers, and I could say this in a very positive way and say that we like to test our creative wings. But the truth is we get bored too. We just want to do something different. We want to do something new. And if it's a trend and it inspired us and it was fun, great. And I can play with that trend while still meeting and exceeding the expectations I've set for my couple, then sure,
Mhm.
sounds good.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to, you mentioned Canon earlier. I know you're Canon Explorer of Light. Tell us what that means, how you got into it. And you're one of, if I remember correctly, correct me here, one of 5 wedding photographers who've become a Canon Explorer of Light. Is that correct?
I am. Yeah, it is a huge goal. I mean, if I was a vision board person, it would have been right there at the top. I'm not a vision board person, so it's just always in the back of my mind for the past 20 years. It was about 20 years when I first heard of this Canon Explorer of Light, because you hear that and you're like, oh. So I was at Photo Plus in New York, which was a pretty big convention, especially at the time. And I'm standing on the trade show floor with that guy that I worked for a while, and Dennis Reggie. I don't know if you're familiar with him. And Dennis Reggie was the most famous wedding photographer, like shot the Kennedy's weddings, was probably BFF with Oprah. Like, I mean, he's him and Joe Busenk and Bambi Cantrell, like these big names in the wedding field. I shot all the celebrities. And I remember someone's talking about Joe and Dennis, and it was like, oh yeah, they're Canon Explorers of Light. And I'm like, what's that? I want somebody to be whispering about me and say something like that one day later. Like, I want to be that. And yeah, about, I guess it was 4 years now, I've been a Canon Explorer of Light. And it's there, I think there are like 30 total in the US, but very, very, very few wedding photographers.
Okay, what does it mean?
It means I get to know about the cool stuff that comes out before it comes out a lot.
So it's not just a status thing?
No, I mean, it's so much more. We're the first they call when they need marketing pieces put together, when they need images for whatever they need images for. Again, getting to know about cool equipment. I speak for them all the time, which is a lot of the travel that I do. I'll go to different camera stores and hold workshops, and I'm sponsored by them to do it. So we do have to paint Canon in a good light, but for me, it was a natural fit. I've always shot Canon, and I always paint Canon in good light because I like it.
All right. So what about your speaking engagements? We'll talk about your teaching, education platforms and YouTube. We're gonna get onto that a little bit later. But I'm very fascinated and interesting about guest speaking and those kind of events that you do. Can you tell us a little bit more details about those?
I've been teaching for the past 15 years, I think. I used to be a Spanish teacher, so I could teach really anything. But I had gone to WPPI, I want to say. It's a Wedding and Portrait Photographers International, and it's a conference every year. It used to be 15,000 photographers strong, really big conference. And I went to a class. I can't even remember what the topic is, and I wish I could remember, but I just remember going to a class because I looked at someone's work and I was like, I want to know, like, how does this happen? How does a photograph get made? And maybe I didn't actually read the title of the class, but I had gone to the class and I was not taught anything about how that photo was made. And it was kind of frustrating. And I was like, you know what? I can teach things. I have a degree in teaching things. Granted, it was Spanish, but I could definitely teach someone how to take a better photograph. So I started doing that, local PPA chapter. It was at a diner that has since burned down in New Jersey, where I'm from. And we spoke to a room of, it was my husband and I at the time, we spoke to a room of like 50 people. And then it was just one thing led to another. And I love that part of what I do. I think it's crucial, really, no matter what your field is. I think it's an absolutely necessary part of life that you are constantly mentored by someone and that you constantly mentor someone else. I think it's just, we're wired to be that way, to pass things on, to continually grow, but at the same time, pass things on to the next generation. So it's something that I love to do. It is something that is very difficult. The travel definitely weighs on me a whole lot. It is really very, very difficult to eat anything healthy when you're just in an airplane at all times. And on the road, we can get into that later, but
yeah, feel your pain.
Yeah, but it's so worth it. And recently I had one of the best compliments, and I'll pull it up and read it because it really just struck me so much. I wake up almost every morning, and my first thing that I do is I go on my phone, I tap on YouTube to look at the comments, and I hold my breath. I
Yeah.
literally go,
I know how you feel
here
as
it
well.
comes.
Yep. Yep.
It's coming. It's going to
That's so
go.
unhealthy though, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I really should not roll out of bed and do that, but I do because I'm like, let me just get it off, like rip it off like a band-aid, and I can go about the rest of my day. And then, of course, I can't go about the rest of my day. But I got, my husband always knows, like when I've read a mean tweet
Yeah. Oh God, these people.
that it's something else. But on the positive side, I got this one. My James, who is a part of, I have an online community called Photo Insiders, and James is a part of that. But he also went to Italy and he's coming to Bali, and he was thanking me for a recent thing that we did together, a workshop. And he said, like, there's a chance I would have folded on this dream of photography if it weren't for your education, help, and encouragement along the way. Even with the butterfly effect, because every wedding I have third and second shot for has been with someone I met at one of your Adorama events that you did back in 2019. I was like, there it is. Like, that's why. There's very little in life that feels better than knowing you've affected someone in a way that will not just change who they are, what they do, their legacy, but they'll go on to change other people. And that's the best thing for me. And I do like, feeding my family also, because I don't do this for free. Just for the record, not Mother Teresa.
Yeah, let's not talk about that either. People do stuff for free, but let's dive into Photo Insiders then, because that seemed to be a big part of your business model. Seemed really intriguing. I kind of wanted to press the button and dive into to become a member. Tell us what it includes, and again, I might just throw in some slogans that I've seen on there, but to just touch on what it entails.
Today it's 2 years old, actually. It's only 2 years old. So I started Photo Insiders, a couple of reasons. Very transparently, one, I wanted a more regular income because there's nothing static about being freelance. So I was like, okay, if I do a subscription-based something, then like I can have some sort of stability in my life, whether it's income or how often I'm creating content. So there was that. But then I also wanted to have a community of people that I paid the most attention to. I get slammed on Instagram and it's every facet. I get random people who find my phone number and call me and show up to my house. I've had that too.
What?
So, yep.
Oh,
So
we've got to tell, you've got to tell that story in a minute. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah. Thankfully I wasn't there. But I get bombarded with a lot, and my heart is to help as many people as I can. But by doing that, I'm helping no one, right? Because then I'm just like, one, I was trying to answer things like really quickly, and I'm not really investing into anyone. So I wanted to create a community that was, dear God, not on Facebook, and just somewhere where like I can really be at your beck and call. I can answer your questions, and then I can ask you next week how it went, and we can see if it worked for you. And then if it didn't, let's make some adjustments. So that community actually started it on Discord, but nobody knows what Discord is unless you're a gamer. So I moved it onto a private platform. So that's part of it, is the community. And then, of course, I do educational content, that's produced educational content. And a lot of it is just behind the scenes of what I'm actually shooting. So it's real life scenario, but then some of it's instructional, like how to do fake golden hour outside with a flash. And then, so you get one of those videos a month, and then we go live once a month. And lately, because I do let the people there dictate what we do, I was doing instructional things live, but then we just started doing hot seats live. So now someone gets to be in the hot seat every month, and we analyze whatever part of their photography or business they would like us to analyze. And it has been so much fun because it's not just me, like, telling you everything I think. It's whoever else shows up live too, because, there's wisdom in many counselors, and I don't think I have every right answer. I think there's, wisdom in gaining it from as many people as possible. So that has been a lot of fun. So all of that is part of Photo Insiders, and you get kind of a bunch of little bonuses. And all my vendors that I work with too give a whole bunch of discounts. So there's, if you're looking to, what's a good one that's in there? There's like Westcott ones and Manfrotto and Imagine AI, and really every vendor I work with has given something to Photo Insiders crew there.
Interesting. I think the community part is so needed in a disparate online world that we live in with just everything, Instagram, YouTube, all these public things that we don't give away for free because we're creating stuff and we're willing to put it out there for free, but it's free, right? It's people get all this stuff. If I look at your YouTube channel, there's a lot of incredible content on there that I know from firsthand experience would have taken a lot to produce and edit and put together for people to use for free. So one of the things I noticed on the Photo Insiders was to never, or at least the goal was to never feel lost or frustrated. I think you said behind the camera, which is basically what you've just explained to me. And I think that's so valuable for photographers, both starting out, intermediate, advanced. And we talked about mentorship. You talked about how important that was. I could not agree more. The biggest struggle I've had in my photography journey is not having a mentor. And I've gone through between 5 and 10, just off the top of my head. And none of them have really worked out or really it was very transactional. It didn't feel like I had that vested interest in me and what I wanted to do or understand it. So I think that's an absolutely vital part of anyone's journey.
For you, I mean, where you are, it's not like you're just starting out. You're very advanced. You're very established. You know what you're doing, and you're in a unique part of the world on top of it. So there are very few people that can mentor you correctly. But
actually, I think when the word mentor, and I think it's the wrong word, and I've been trying to, because I offer mentorships as well, and I went through coaching or teaching, or I don't. It's actually just a soundboard, right? It's not necessarily right. What are we gonna learn from this call or from this meeting, right? It's more just I'm thinking about doing this. Do you think it's a good idea? If so, can we just kind of hash it out a bit? And in your experience, what do you think? And because anyone else has an outside point of view, which is so beneficial for us. We're in our little bubbles and we're in our little photography communities and little Instagram DMs and YouTube haters and lovers. And it's all just a tiny little bubble. Essentially
with pat answers too.
Yeah.
Like just pat answers. Just meh.
Here. Yeah. There's no depth.
Fits all.
Yeah. So I think if anyone's my point is at any part of the journey, whether you're beginner, intermediate, professional, advanced, I think, and like you said, to have someone, not necessarily above, but someone outside of that you can go and throw ideas around with, and then someone who's doing the same with you, right? So you can really have that full experience and pass it forward. That's what this is all about. I get so frustrated with photographers who keep things, like you talked about when you go to an event and a talk. It's like, tell me your fucking secrets. Like, that's why I'm here, right? Don't be a dick about it. Right, we're all in this together. Yeah. There's plenty enough to go around. Don't worry. You're not going to, die by telling. You're not going to lose all your income by telling me how you do things, right? But there's just this. No. The gatekeepers.
Well, everyone's a little bit insecure, like scared insecure, not in a bad way insecure. Just it's a scary world out there, right? And we're all trying to do something that's kind of out of the norm. We're not like company people. Let me go get my 401k. Let me go do what I love to do and convince someone to pay me for it.
Yeah. How much fulfillment do you get from which part of, looking at from an outside point of view, looking at your business model, essentially, you do so many things and different funnels or different, I should say, pillars. Which part do you enjoy the most? Which brings you the most fulfillment, satisfaction?
The diversity does right now. I think weddings brought me so much fulfillment for so long. I've been doing them for 24 years, maybe at this point. But, that has its ebbs and flows. And right now, I am really enjoying the diversity with all of my clients. So I have clients that are, I say this lovingly, basic bitch brides. Like, I've shot your wedding before, definitely shot that dress before. Love you wholeheartedly. But the people that they are is is what drives me, right? Because when I hit burnout a couple of years ago, I decided, for the record, again, not just like once, but again, I decided that one of the things that I wanted to do is emotionally invest in my clients. So when I started doing that, those even basic bitch weddings, I call them, like those weddings became fulfilling because I cared about who they were, and I cared about grandma, and I cared about, their brother that flew in from wherever he flew in from. And that pushed me along. And then now I have some higher end clients that we collaborate on Pinterest boards over their engagement session. And I actually like that, when before I didn't like that, but now I do, because having worked with brands and worked with Hilton, that's what I do with them. And that's one of the reasons I love photographing with them, is because there's a producer and a stylist and they show me what they want. And then I know anything they throw at me, I can shoot. So I feel the same way with my clients. Like, you could throw anything at me. Photographically, I know how to photograph whatever you want. So now I find that fulfilling. I find that exciting. So give me all the wedding trends. Like, I got you. I can do anything. So for me, that's been really fulfilling, all that diversity, doing different things, meeting the demands of what other people would consider to be demanding clients, but me, like, I like it.
Do you think much about a legacy? And we talked a bit about scaling something that you can spin off or like use as something that you can retire with or whatever. It is a legacy in terms of your body of work, something that you care about or think about?
My body of work, I don't, no one's going to like it except for me and the people who are close to the people in the photographs. But I think that, like, that's enough legacy for me. I am posting about this at some point this week. I just wrote the post this morning and scheduled it. But at weddings, especially, I tend to make sure my self-imposed to-do list, I make sure that I photograph all the elders in the room, because I know that, unfortunately, in a couple of years, couple of months, whatever it is, I'm going to be asked for that really nice photo that you took of grandma so that we can have it blown up at her funeral. And by the way, where's a great place to print that? I know I'm getting that email, getting that phone call. So that's the legacy for me. It's their legacy. It's other people's legacies that I'm preserving, knowing they'll be passed down and they won't remember me. My name won't matter. That's on the back of the album. But to me, I don't care, because I know what those photos mean to them. And the fact that my photos mean that to them, like, that's my legacy. I love knowing that.
Yeah. And is that something then you will continue to do if you do wedding photography for 20 years? Do you see yourself doing that for another 20 years?
No, because I don't want to be that, like, old crotchety lady wedding photographer. The second I start to get really grumpy, like, just kick me out, please. I don't need to be there. But photographing commercial or photographing for consumers is something that I always wanted to keep doing. I never wanted to be that educator that didn't also do it. You
Mm.
become so irrelevant really fast. Sorry, my dog needs to join us.
Oh, hi. What's your name?
God, I hate that she licks my mouth. Gross. This is Zoe. Hi.
Hi,
Yeah,
Zoe.
don't like that. Yes. Okay, stop it.
We have 4 dogs and they all lick your face. They're all like Bali mongrels. Yeah. 3 of them rescued from the street and one we rescued in Hong Kong and brought with us.
I love that.
They're all fucked up, really. They're all just a bit weird and but in a cute way. Yeah. But yeah,
No, I definitely got the hypoallergenic dog, as you've
Oh,
noticed. It's necessary.
so you don't have a stroke every time she comes into the room. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to YouTube, because I'm interested in what part that has to play in your business model, your daily life. There's clearly a lot of work goes into it. I know how much work there goes into it. Where do you get the enjoyment from for that, and why do you do it?
I can't say I get a ton of enjoyment out of YouTube. To be honest, I started creating YouTube videos. Oh my gosh, when was it? Probably 2015? No, it was earlier. No, it was probably 2015. Yeah, 2015. So I created YouTube videos for Adorama, which is a camera store in New York. And they had a big, or still have a big YouTube presence. And I created videos, I think it was twice a month for them for like 5 years, for a really long time. And in the middle of that, a friend of mine, Miguel Quiles, said, you need to start doing this for yourself because one day Adorama is going to not renew your contract. And then what will you have? And I listened to him. And thankfully I did, because 2 years into that, Adorama did not renew my contract. They don't keep too many people on there for more than 5 years. They cycle through, and I want to say there's like maybe 3 guys that are still there after that. But after that time period. But anyway, so I was like, oh, great. I'm glad I did that. And another friend of mine, Jared Polin, Frono's Photo, he helped me figure out how to do it. And he still is a good soundboard for me to bounce stuff off of. So I started doing it for that very logical reason. I did not have a particular passion to create my own content like for myself. I did it for other people all the time. But I mean, is anyone ever excited about having to start a new social media platform? Like, ever? None of us are, I don't think.
Even posting
So,
photos, it's like,
yeah,
it's now we've got to do, we don't have to, but I do one photo post a week on Instagram. And now it's just a whole thing because I want to do a carousel. So I'm editing more photos than just one photo so I can fit them all in the same post, which is actually good exercise because I want to pair photos and that's a new thing for me. But yeah, it's a whole
you
thing.
did really well, actually. I don't know if you know. So when you posted, there was a woman who was looking or sitting in a window, and you had cropped it just to the window. But then as you went, you realized it was part of another photo. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
it was great.
but it's a love-hate relationship. I mean, I'm by the way you're talking about it, it's the same for you, right? It's a necessary tool, well, not a necessary, but a good tool. But
It's the top of the funnel, you know. And I hate to say it that way, but I'm very logical. I'm very marketing brain, and people kind of hate that about me or love that about me, but that's just how I think. And YouTube is one of the big funnels. Do I love at the same time, like, I'm going to put quality education there, and it's not like to get the rest of this education, you need to buy my whatever. No, like, I love the fact that, there are people that cannot afford education right now, and I can give good quality education for free for them. Wonderful. But at the same time, I can't feed my kids with things that are free. So it is part of a larger funnel, and, getting brand deals there, and, just how I pay for the editors that do the editing for me, and the shooters that photograph for me. And I like employing as many people as I can because I enjoy helping people out that way too.
we have a lot in common. Yeah, me too. What when it comes to YouTube, and this is the last question I'm going to ask about YouTube because I don't love to talk about it too much, for basically the reasons we just talked about. But I am always interested in hearing someone who's big on YouTube and what, in their experience, what the worst comment they've ever had has been. I was just it's such an interesting question because I just
I
have
have
to
a
laugh.
collection. I can't, because it's like you have to think of categories. I've got the ones where it's, do you even own a hairbrush, or, you're showing too much or you're showing too little, or, how inappropriate you made your model dress, or like, I don't know. So like that's that category. And then the other category is, how I'm just such a shill because I, get paid sometimes, or I can't have an opinion. You can't tell me anything about this Canon camera because you're a Canon Explorer of Light. I'm like, oh, okay, that means I can't have opinion. Or um, my super favorites are the ones who like, and I'm not a snot like this, but like, you don't know who I am, and you just said that. The ones are like, oh, what was it? You know what? You just sound like a newbie, and you just need to pick up a camera and learn, sweetie.
Who are
I
these
don't know.
people? It's just, yeah. I mean, you're doing the right thing, laughing at it, but it does. It does dig
Oh, I
at you,
don't
right?
always.
No, it does
You
get.
you could take the, girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out of the girl. Like, I pipe back. If somebody is flat out wrong and God forbid they made a grammar mistake in there, like you are you are going down.
Have you had any legal battles or legal issues with either YouTube or your photos or copyright?
I have. I just did a video about it recently, talking about how I did sue someone once and did win a $10,000 award. I think it was either 10 or 20 is that long ago. I can't even remember because I split it down the middle with my lawyer. That's how we got paid. So I was like, did I win 20 and then only got 10? Or was it we won 10 and I got 5? Like I just lost track. But yeah, so I've definitely done that.
Are you able to talk about it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could watch the long story, but I had a wedding venue who had some photos of mine that I did provide them for social media. Very specifically said you can put these on social media or even your website. Please credit me. If you want to use them for print or anything else, please contact me. And then someone was like, "Hey, I saw your photo in a magazine. I knew it was yours the second I saw it." And I'm like, first of all, great compliment. Second of all, what? And they used the photo for a print ad, full page print ad in a magazine. And yeah, they were not allowed. They made excuses. I sued them as well as the magazine company and then settled out of court. And, it's like, there's a lot of comments on there and I kind of agree with all of them. And it was my mindset at the time too, and still is my mindset. Like, should I stand up for photographers' copyright and, make a point out of this for other artists? Yeah, I probably should. Is it nice to win that much for, a photograph and not really doing anything else? Yeah, probably. But, did I ruin that relationship with the hall? Did I ruin that relationship with the magazine? Because those are consequences of winning any legal battle is you ruin relationships. So, I don't know.
How good was that relationship going to be, though, if they're going to take advantage?
Who knows? Who knows? At the time, they were one of the most booked wedding halls. So if I had a good relationship with them, could I book a ton more work with them? Yeah, maybe it would have been worth $100,000, not just $10,000. I don't know. It's hypothetical. This is if the what is it? If the tree falls in the forest and no one is out here, does it make a sound?
Yeah, but then you got to think about your principles, right? More than anything else, and where
My
do you
principles.
stand on that? Yeah, have principles. So, what were the comments saying about it? Then you said you agree with the comments. Which side were they erring
Well,
on?
those were all of it, all of it. For the most part, they were airing on I did the right thing, and yeah, but yeah. Nah, let's see. Damon yelled. Yeah, someone did actually. Someone insulted me, called me a liar in that YouTube video because I couldn't remember if it was 10,000 or 20,000. So they said, "Well, the validity of your story is completely thrown out the window now because you can't remember that. You should have done more research before making your video, and now we can't believe anything else you say."
These people just
Okay.
need to get lives. Like, why? How do you have the time and energy to make comments like that? But yeah,
I
okay.
don't know. I don't know. Why are
Um,
you watching a liar?
Speaking of energy, and you mentioned burnout a couple of times. You've had burnout. Can you? I think it can be very relevant to my audience. Who a lot of people I speak to on this show, they have experienced it, and they don't necessarily know how A, they either got out of it, or B, to prevent it again. Because like we talked about at the beginning, this is an individual kind of pursuit. It's photography. It's like, if I don't take that job, when am I going to be paid next? Right. And when can I scale it, et cetera, et cetera. So we know how we get into it, but tell us about your most recent experience, how you, maybe you've got some tips and tricks of how you get out of it and maybe how you go about preventing it.
I actually do. I'm surprised people don't notice how they got into it or how to prevent it and then how they got out of it because I think every time I go through burnout, those are the 2 points I remember the most. Maybe I'm just protecting myself and I don't feel like remembering all the times I was in the fetal position on the floor. But the the getting out of it, not that it's easy, but it's simple. To me, it's always been what can I micro focus on right now to stop looking at the macro, right? Or to stop even being so self-centered as to woe is me. So I once was, involved, making sure I'm really involved in the people that I'm photographing. Other times it was when I learned flash photography. It's like, I am so burned out and bored because I'm really good at this natural light thing. Let me do something different. And sometimes it is those wedding trends. That's definitely been a new one. And then when you feel it coming on, and this is something I think everybody can feel it coming on, like you don't want to walk out that door, or you wish you were able to go to whatever party that all of your friends and family are going to and you can't. You kind of see it coming. But when you see it coming, I've decided one of the things that keeps us going in a career for so long is understanding that your why changes and it's allowed to. So we've all probably heard that tech talk, right? The why. Got to find your why. And that's the center of your universe, the center of your marketing strategy. It's all about your why. When I first heard that, which I think that TED talk came out probably 20 years ago at this point, I remember thinking, okay, well, my why is whatever it was. I was married, I think, at the time, or dating, no kids. So my why was, let's just say, to take over the world. And that was my why. And then when I got pregnant, I remember being kind of aghast at the thought that that wasn't going to be my why anymore. Because, ew, my why is going to be the kid. I'm going to be that mom that just throws everything away and only cares about their kid and cancels plans because of their kid. Like, and when you're single and you don't have kids, like, you're disgusted by this. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. It's just that's your life circumstance, your worldview at that time. And it took me a while to realize that your whys can change and probably should change. And that's okay. It doesn't take away who you are as an artist or as a human being. It just shows your evolution. So I think embracing that when you see burnout coming, like, you know what? Maybe I need a shift in my why, and starting to evaluate that again and maybe correct course.
Very, very interesting. And how much of the self-care and internal health, internal practices, habits go into that process, or just the normal process of staying as good a photographer as you can be?
Matt, I said I had kids. So I wake up, I check the nasty YouTube comments and then the screamings. So there's no,
So you have online screaming
there's no,
to,
yeah, in person screaming and then clients screaming. No, I was just listening to someone say how they meditate 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night. That is not me. I'd like it to be me. I'd love to be more prayerful and reading and all of it, but it's, to me, it just comes when it comes. So that being said, I have done much better job at self-care, like physical self-care. I just celebrated 52 straight weeks of making sure I worked out at least once a week, every single week, even while traveling, 130 some odd days for that year. So I do work on that a lot, and what I'm eating, because I found burnout comes a lot faster when you physically do not like yourself and you physically feel sluggish and weak. For me, weak is a big thing. I don't like to feel weak.
especially with weddings, and you need that energy and you need that strength, mental and physical, right? And it all starts in the gut. Everything starts in the gut, doesn't it? Creativity I've certainly personal experience, like just being a better craftsman or photographer, whatever your thing is. Like if you eat better, that means you will okay. You're probably going to exercise more because you just either want to or you feel more energy. And then all of that combined, you're just going to be a better person and a better artist. It's simple maths. It's just very difficult to do, especially when traveling, right?
It is. It really is. And then trying to be present when I'm home. And I don't like working. I can't even say I don't like working out in the morning. The like is not even a part of it. I physically do not work out well in the morning because I have cortisol level issues. So if I work out in the morning, like, I'm done. I would sleep the rest of the day if I could, but I can't. So then my mental capacity isn't there. So I really need to work out in the afternoons.
Interesting. And you've got a lot going on in the mornings with YouTube haters and kids screaming anyway. So
Yeah.
it's enough to
Yeah.
take.
And my best rebuttals are when I'm
Yeah,
snappy in the
yeah.
morning.
Oh, YouTube. All right, let's we're wrapping up. I want to kind of finish with some tips of the trade. You've been you know, I don't want to use veteran because you're a very young lady, but you've been doing wedding photography for a long time, right? A couple of decades.
Mhm.
Give us
Couple of
some
decades.
give us some I know it's difficult to ask when someone gives away a lot of education on a free platform like YouTube. But things like body language secrets, your favorite equipment, how to use Flash, especially. I don't think people really. It can be very overwhelming, right? Flash. Oh, I've got a light to think about. So, are there any like really quick tips and tricks you can share with us on any of those types of
Yeah,
things?
well, let's go with the Flash one because Flash tends to be really overwhelming. But the first thing I'd love people to try when they're first learning Flash is to do that fake golden hour thing because it's actually the easiest thing in the world. So all you do is you set your camera exposure for a photo just like you're taking a natural light photo. However you do that. You plop a flash. If it's really bright outside, you're going to want a really powerful flash. So I do suggest you try this at like dusk or right before or early in the morning and in the shade. But you plop a flash right behind your subject and then, maybe 45 degrees. So it's at a frame shooting to the back of your subject's head. You put an orange gel on it and you set it on auto. If your flash doesn't have auto, set it on half power and start from there. And it like instantly transforms your photo. And it's the easiest flash technique in the entire world because you can kind of screw it up and it still will look good because it's just backlight. It's just needs to be a little bit stronger or a little bit less intense. So that's my favorite flash one. And it's in my book, actually. And I have a free YouTube video on it also. If you go to my YouTube channel and just type or look under the flash photography playlist, it's actually probably one of the most viewed ones too. It says easy flash photography, walks you right through it. Super simple.
Yep. And if people are thinking about getting Flash, what would you suggest? I know you use Profoto like me, and we've got the Canon cameras and lenses and stuff. If people are on a budget or they want to just try out a bit of Flash, what would you suggest?
You know what you do? Just sage old advice. Buy it used. Shocking thought, I know. So you have not so great, or rent it, right? You have not so great equipment that when it comes to flash, you really want to have good equipment because you're learning and you're going to get frustrated and things aren't going to work technologically. And you need to make sure it's something that's you and not the piece of garbage equipment you're using potentially. It just will save you a ton of headaches. So if you can buy used Pro Photo, it's just going to be solid. I have lights that I've had for like 15 years. I still have them. They still work perfectly.
Yeah, there's always a way, especially in the US. And you've got Adorama, they sell used equipment. B&H Photo, they sell used
We do.
equipment. eBay,
Yep.
MBP, which is actually UK based, but they ship everywhere. I mean, there's loads of Facebook
AEH, right?
Marketplace. Yeah, it's just so, and there's someone always
So
selling
much.
stuff. Worst case, I mean, it wouldn't flash, but you could use a lamp. At least just to experiment with lighting, right? But yeah, cool. Thank you so much. I think I could talk to you for hours. I can't wait to have you in Bali. Please let me know.
I
I
will.
will let you get on with the rest of the evening. It's probably bedtime. So I just want to say thank you very much for talking with me. It's been super fun. Had a great laugh. And I wish you all the very best with
Thank you. You
parenting,
too.
with speaking, with weddings, and with general YouTube haters and likers. But yeah, thanks for joining me. It's been so much fun.
Awesome. I will talk to you soon, Matt.
All right. Cheers.